Hello everybody, it's Jayma Malme here with a double page scrapbook layout, and I am going to get lots of photos on here. You can see I've got some little 2x2s, some 3x3s, 3x4, and my focal is a 4x6. I'm going to be using this sketch in one of the creative design team 12x12 sketchbooks. I'm going to be changing the right page just very slightly, but I'm still using it as a major jumping off point. And I'm using this Secret Garden paper collection. This was one of Close to My Heart's paper packs that Stampin Up bought and is selling. And great news, starting today when this video airs, all of the Close to My Heart products are now available to anybody, not just former Close to My Heart customers or makers. So that's really exciting. So I showed you all the paper, and this is the cardstock. It's actually cardstock, but it's printed, so it's got those little patterns on there. And then I grabbed this tea-themed stamp set from Close to My Heart that's from a while ago, and this Secret Garden die set, which is current. That's what goes with this whole paper collection. So I am starting with my background page. There's going to be about an inch of this showing all the way around. I wanted it to be there because this tea theme, I thought it went perfectly with the theme, but I didn't want this paper to be too in your face because, in all honesty, it reminds me of wallpaper I grew up with. So I didn't want it to be like too in your face, but I think the whole floral theme works really, really nicely with these tea photos. So the sketch calls for a border around this piece here, and I was trying one of those cardstocks that came with the collection, and I think it was just a little bit too much pattern on pattern. So then I tried just pine cardstock, and I like how that looks. So I'm going to bring that over to the other side, and that's going to be my border around the other side. Now the other side is a bit different. It doesn't have that same floral paper all the way around. That paper is going to be brought in other ways, because of course what you do to one side you want to do to the other. Now I'm just playing around with the mats around here. It did call for just one mat, but I felt like it was just kind of missing something, so I was playing with adding a peach mat as well, and I do end up liking it. And then I was deciding, do I want the peach around the photos? And I didn't like that, so I'm going to try the pine around the photos, and I do like that. Of course I will mat them in white first because that's just what I do, and then the pine. So let's bring these mats back in over here and see which order we want the mats in. See all these little details. Sometimes I get so hung up on details because I'm a perfectionist, but in the end I do like it to be the white and then the peach and then the pine and then the floral. So that's what I went with, and I'm going to end up doing that on the other side as well. Now over on the right side, I've got 6 photos, and I've got 3 3x3s and 3 3x4s. In the sketch, it calls for 9 3x3s, so you'd fit more, but I'm just staggering them. So I've got in each column, I've got 1 3x4 and 1 3x3. You'll see that again in just a moment. So I just wanted to point that out. And if, by the way, you're not sure how to print smaller photos like that, I have a whole tutorial showing exactly how I do it. So I'll leave that down in the description below. Now over here on the left side again, I'm going to leave an 1.5 inch border all the way around, and I'm going to gut out the center so I don't waste any of that pretty paper. Even though it looks like wallpaper and I don't want it in large doses, I do think it's pretty and I don't want to waste it. Plus there's the yellow on the other side, so if in another project I use the yellow paper, I'll have a little bit more of that because what I'm left with is just one other sheet of the pink and yellow in this pack. So we'll put that off to the side, and then off screen I'm going to get this put back together, and I got all of the pine photo mats on my photos. And now I want to decide which paper I want down here as the strip that goes across the bottom. I first tried that peach patterned paper, which I thought was really pretty, but it just didn't pop enough for me, so I ended up with this pine cardstock piece, and that's going to get dovetailed on the ends. And then I brought the floral paper over to the right side by kind of filling in those gaps that the different size photos made, so it still looks like a grid layout. And I'm liking how that looks, although it is going to change just a bit. And then I started second guessing how this page was laid out. I started thinking, do I want the frame all the way around? Or do I want the white going to the edges on the right and left and having strips of the pattern paper on top and below? So I'm going to kind of play around with that and see how I like it. Spoiler alert, I didn't end up going with this, but while I play around with these papers, I wanted to talk about the photos. So as you may know from watching my channel and the other Creative Design Team girls channels, we all got together for the very first time back in May, and we went to Vancouver, BC. And on this particular day, we took the ferry to Victoria. We went to the Empress Hotel. We had high tea. We also went to Bouchard Gardens and have a whole slew of other photos that I still need to scrapbook. But this is from the tea at the Empress Hotel. And some of the girls are actually collaborating with me today, scrapbooking these same exact photos. So be sure to check out their videos. I know Erin's participating, and some of the other girls were going to try to. So I will leave a link to their channels down below, those who are participating, so you can go check out their videos using these same photos. That will be really fun. After playing with the paper all that time, I ended up cutting these strips to go on the top and bottom of that page. I'm just going to live with it for a little bit and we'll see what I think. Over on the left here, I lined up that little banner piece down on the bottom so that I could line up my photos. I've got these 2 center photos just on either side of the 6 at the bottom of my VersaMat, and then I'll just kind of evenly space the rest of them out before I dovetail the ends. All right, back to the photos. So we went to the Empress Hotel. We had this high tea. I had never been to a high tea before. It was so fun. I think one of the highlights is that I was actually able to eat all of the beautiful, delicious food. I'm gluten-free and so is Erin, and they completely accommodated us. We had just as delicious and beautiful food as all of the other girls did. So that was something that was really, really special. If you have food allergies, that you know how exciting it is when someone accommodates you for something special like this. All right, let's bring in these Secret Garden dies. These dies are so amazing. They have quickly become some of my favorites. They layer up beautifully. There's all these different pieces, a bunch of leaves. There's 2 different larger flowers that have 3 layers each. There's a little bud with a couple layers, and then there's that little kind of spriggy one that has the little like berries or small buds on it, and they just make the most beautiful clusters. So I'm showing you how this one kind of layers together, but we're going to do a little bit of treatment to that. I'm just going to kind of place them here and there. Now this one, I only am using 2 of the 3 layers because I wanted to have a medium-sized flower, a big, a medium, and a smaller size flower. So that's why I am just using 2 of the layers, but it still works out perfectly. You don't have to use all 3 layers. They're super flexible. So I'm going to bring in some peach ink and just add a little bit of inking to each of these pieces to add a little bit of depth and dimension. Now this ink does end up drying back quite a bit, and so I'm adding more than I think I'm going to want. I started kind of focusing on the centers, but then I ended up, kind of going around the outsides too, just kind of going all the way around. There was really no rhyme or reason to how I was adding the ink. I just wanted to kind of add some depth. And it's really easy to do this with this type of blending brush. I think the biggest thing to remember is just make sure you go darker than you think, because it does dry back a lot lighter. So I'm going to go ahead and do these to all of these peach pieces, and then I'll do the rest off camera before I start assembling. Doesn't that look so cute? All right, let me go back to the photos for just a moment. So I wanted to mention, we get asked a lot, the Creative Design Team, if we're really good friends. We have our Creative Design Team membership together. We do these collaborations together. We do our sketchbooks together. We have our 31 Days of Christmas card event and other events together. We have a lot of business things that we do together. And yes, we really are really good friends. There's no drama between us. We all get along really well. This trip that we had was so much fun. Like, I think we were all in withdrawal and so sad after it was over. It went by way too quickly. Even though we were together for 5 days, it seemed like it was a pretty substantial amount of time, but it went by so fast, and we were already talking about planning our next adventure together. So we'll see where that next adventure is. If you have any ideas of where we should meet up, then let me know in the comments below. We're coming from the US, Canada, and Australia, so we've got to keep Janice in mind so that she doesn't have even farther to go than she already does. That's why we went to the West Coast. So open to suggestions if you have any. All right, let's put these die cuts together. I'm using thin 3D foam tape that I still have from Close to My Heart. I love this because it's not as thick as regular 3D foam, because I don't like a ton of bulk in my layouts, in my albums, but I did want to have some dimensions. So this thin 3D tape is amazing. I love it. And I put it between each layer of the flowers. So I'm going to start making my clusters with these flowers, and then I'm going to add my stamped embellishments, which totally make this layout. I'm so excited about it. By the way, do you notice that I moved those strips that were across the top and bottom? I decided it was just too much floral. I will add it in other ways because of course I do have to bring that back over to the right side of the page. All right, so I've got all my flowers in place for now, and these are all of the little layers. All of these dimensions are in the sketchbook, and I love these layers that layer up behind the focal photo. There are a few other additional layers for the right side of the page to give this same kind of look of the pieces tucked behind photos. Of course, I'm going to change that up just a little bit, but I love the look. This is actually one of my sketches from our sketchbook, and I have I think one or two other layouts using this same sketch. I'll link them at the end of this video. Okay, so I've got a whole bunch of die cuts that I stamped and die cut out from that tea set. Some of them I did two-tone, so you can see those ones I have out now. I stamped in peach, and then I rolled it in Rosy ink. Even though Rosy is not in this collection, Andrea is wearing a bright pink shirt, and then my shirt is like a bright coral. And so I think the Rosy kind of works with both of those to help balance those bright colors and bring them in a little bit, but still keeping a more subtle color palette here. Okay, so I'm just trying to decide that I love this big teapot. I was kind of having a trouble placing it because I felt like it kind of had to be facing a certain way on the page. Now, some of these images I stamped in gray and then rolled in Rosy, and then some of them are just stamped in gray, like this one. And so I just stamped a whole bunch ahead of time because I didn't know what I would want. I wanted to be able to just get it all stamped ahead of time. Sometimes I don't know. Actually, most of the time, I don't know what I want ahead of time. I have a really hard time deciding on colors and patterns and all that. And so oftentimes when I stamp things or die cut things, I'll try like 3 different colors before I decide on the one that I wanted. So I stamped most of the images 3 times in all 3 color combos so that I would have options and wouldn't have to, stop and stamp and cut it out again while I'm in the middle of creating. So I do have a whole bunch of extras, and hopefully I'll be able to use those on another project. But you can see how I am kind of switching things out. Like I had the more peachy teapot on the left page first, and then I decided to go with the gray rolled in Rosy because I liked that color better, so that I have some light colors mixed with dark colors, and I like the way that turns out. Isn't that little tea bag so cute? I kind of use that and the spoon as little embellishments, kind of like I would use a little scatter element or a gem or something like that. And I love just the little vignettes that these create. They're so cute. So I do a lot of fussing around, as I always do. I left a lot of this in just so that you can see I do spend quite a bit of time embellishing. Sometimes in videos it comes off as I know exactly where everything is going, and it is really easy for me, but I really do fuss around a lot, and I just kind of wanted you to see my thought process, and I moving things here and there until I'm happy with it. So here I'm adding a couple of other little scraps. The dimensions are given in the sketchbook, and then I added a few extras too, because in the sketch you would have 9 3x3 squares, and since I don't have that. My vertical space is a little shorter, so I have a little extra space at the top and bottom. So I filled that in with a little extra paper, and that's where I brought that floral pattern in. I added it to the top right and the bottom left, and I think that brings it in enough. I'll add a little bit more embellishing to kind of fill in the space a little bit more, but I didn't feel like I needed to completely fill that white space. And can you believe I didn't even add splatters? Okay, so there are some sayings on this stamp set, and I thought that I might stamp a couple of those. So I was trying this one out, and I have this little blank space above my floral cluster, and I thought that might work. So I'm going to brave it. I'm going to test my stamp first, put my little foam piece behind there, and very carefully stamp it. And I decided that is actually going to serve as my title, and I love it. It says, "You're my cup of tea." How perfect is that? And then there were some stickers on the sticker sheet that worked too. There are some sayings and then this little tab up here, and I wanted to bring a little more yellow up here. So I stuck that up there, and I'll end up putting the date on there. And then there are a few more of these little word strips that I'm going to stick here and there as well. By the way, I forgot to mention that I did ink around the edge with pine ink around all the papers. So you can see those little pieces that are sticking out from around my focal image. They've got that darker color around the edge, and that's helping them pop off the back a little bit better. And if you're wanting to see some of these details up close, I know there's a lot of detail and it's kind of far away. I am going to show you close-ups at the end, and I also post all of my still shots on Instagram and Facebook, and then also on my blog eventually, although I'm not as good about posting on there, but I am better at posting on social media, and all those links are down in the description below. As my finishing touch, I'm adding some iridescent pearls. These are so pretty. They're like just a normal color pearl, but they've got an iridescent shine to them. I'll try to show you in the close-ups, although it's just hard to catch the shine, but trust me, they're so pretty in real life. All right, I'm actually going to add one more photo and some journaling to this page, but I don't have that photo quite yet. So I wanted to show you I've got this little flip flap that will fit a 3x4 photo, and I will cut a piece of cardstock to 3x4 for the back side of it, and that's where I'll add my journaling. So that will stick right onto the top of my page protector. But I'll do that once I get my last picture. And here is the close-up look at all of these details. I just love how this turned out, and I hope you do too. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and if you have not yet subscribed, I encourage you to do so. I post scrapbooking videos every week to help inspire you to create and give you ideas for your own scrapbooking. And be sure to check out the other girls' videos that are participating. Those links are down in the description below. And here's another video I made with this same sketch. Have a great day.